This is verse number 30, which is the last verse from the previous class. Also, in this Manvantar, the Supreme Lord Vishnu took birth from the womb of Harini, the wife of Harimedha, and he was known as Hari. Hari saved the devotee Gajendra, the king of the elephants, from the mouth of a crocodile. Text 31. King Parikshit said, "My lord, Bhadranarayani, we wish to hear from you in detail how the king of the elephants, when attacked by a crocodile, was delivered by Hari." This is verse 32. This is the one that the class is on. Any literature or narration in which the Supreme Personality of Godhead Uttama Sloka is described and glorified is certainly very great, pure, glorious, auspicious, and all good. Jai Shri Sri Radha Gokulananda Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Gornitai Ki Jai. Hare Krishna Mahamantra Ki Jai. Please listen up to this purport. Prabhupada's chastising the sannyasis in this purport. So, this is it's mild chastisement, not very. It's at the very end. The Krishna conscious movement is spreading all over the world simply by describing Krishna. We have published many books, including Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita in 17 volumes, 400 pages each, as well as the Bhagavad Gita and the Nectar of Devotion. We're also publishing Srimad Bhagavatam in 60 volumes. Whenever a speaker holds discourses from these books and the audience hears him, this will create a good and auspicious situation. Therefore, the preaching of Krishna consciousness must be done very carefully by the members of the Krishna conscious movement, especially the sannyasis. This will create an auspicious atmosphere. Carefully presenting the knowledge. Om Agyantimirandasya Gina Jana Salakaya Chaksu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Staptitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadammayam Dadati Swampadantikam Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So the last verse, Sri Sutta Goswami said, "O Brahmanas, when Parikshit Maharaj, who was waiting impending death, thus requested Sukadev Goswami to speak, Sukadev Goswami, encouraged by the king's words, offered respect to the king and spoke with great pleasure in the assembly of the sages who desired to hear him." So then Prabhupada thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 8th canto, 1st chapter, Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Manus, Administrators of the Universe. Translation again from 32. Any literature or narration in which the Supreme Personality of Godhead Uttama Sloka is described and glorified is certainly great, pure, glorious, auspicious, and all good. So, the glorification of the Lord is the essence of the practice of spiritual life. Spiritual life means to awaken our love for Krishna. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sarukavunai Sravanari Siddhi Chitti Kere Udai. In the hearts of all living entities, pure love of God exists. And anyone who takes to spiritual life should understand the goal. Without understanding the goal, the practice becomes somewhat, what we say, unsteady and sometimes misunderstood or misdirected. So the goal of this Krishna consciousness movement, when Prabhupada was asked in Atlanta, Georgia in 1975, in a very large assembly of devotees who had come all over the country of America to see Prabhupada in Atlanta, the temple was so full that the devotees were standing outside looking in the windows. The temple room is a little bit bigger than this, not much, but it was so crowded that there was no room for anybody. It was packed. And Prabhupada did a very, very extensive question and answer period. Unlike any other question and answer period he ever did, it lasted almost an hour. Prabhupada never took questions that long. Usually it was sometimes 15 minutes, a half hour. There were some rare occasions where he went really long. But one of the questions, which is really significant about the whole process of Krishna consciousness, was a very simple and very ordinary question. What pleases you most, Srila Prabhupada? What pleases you most? And the question was somewhat, as we use in what we say, the vernacular, loaded. It was a loaded question because the person who asked it was a book distributor. And the temple was filled with book distributors from all over. And Prabhupada answered the question in the most interesting and the most amazing way, in a very succinct and very direct way. He said, what pleases the spiritual master the most is that you love Krishna. That was the answer. You love Krishna. That's why the spiritual master is come, to somehow or other give us the means for awakening our love for God. And that's the goal of this Krishna consciousness movement. There's no second goal. Second goal would be to somehow or other get free from material miseries, but that still gives us a chance to get another birth. Getting free from material miseries is a byproduct of love of God. It comes automatically, and it's not the goal. Where a lot of persons take to spiritual life to free themselves from the suffering and the difficulties of material existence, which is normal, acceptable, and desirable. But then, when one ultimately understands why I've come, one has to come to the platform of what is this process all about? Is it simply just mitigating suffering? No, it's about being eternally happy and loving relationship with Krishna. And Prabhupada says here that we have published so many books. Prabhupada likes it sounds like he's tooting his own horn, as you say. You do something and you want to tell somebody about it. There's a little, sometimes it looks like a little bit of personal pride. But Prabhupada's glorification of his work is really the glorification of Krishna and the glorification of his previous acharyas, which allowed him to do such work. He's not thinking, it's me. He's thinking that I'm simply an instrument for bringing forth this most amazing process of pure love of God. And what is he saying? We have published 17 volumes of Chaitanya Charitamrita, 400 pages each. And Nectar of Devotion, Bhagavad Gita, and now we are publishing Srimad Bhagavatam in 60 volumes. It's still going on when this purport was written. So Prabhupada says, we have enough knowledge. Now we have to present it in such a way that people will accept it and understand it. And what is that presentation? And we keep the essence of the material focused on the glorification of Krishna. Because that's what it really is all about. It's to glorify Krishna, to bring Krishna into our life, as Prabhupada said, at every moment. Bringing Krishna into our life every moment means entering into the spiritual consciousness or into the spiritual world. And here is one of the most direct and very pleasing ways to do it. Pleasing in the sense that when we read and hear from Srila Prabhupada's books, Prabhupada's pleased. He chastised us in various ways, in different situations, about distributing books but not reading books. He said one time in Mayapur, you're out there distributing books, and that is very nice, but if someone asks you what's in the books, you say, well, our spiritual master, he writes and we sell. That's all. Prabhupada said, this is not good. We should know what's in the books and be able to explain the books to those who inquire. And we should be able to inspire other people to inquire about what's in the books. By reading the books and understanding the books itself. Here Prabhupada talks about Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's interesting. Sometimes we hear, this is an interesting statement, that by reading Srimad Bhagavatam first, then one can approach Chaitanya Charitamrita. Sometimes it's mentioned like that. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati gives a different procedure. He says those who read Chaitanya Charitamrita first, then read Srimad Bhagavatam, will understand the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam. Because Bhagavatam is living Chaitanya Charitamrita. Or Chaitanya Charitamrita is living Bhagavatam. I'm sorry, I got that backwards. It's living Bhagavatam. So the life of the great souls is Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is the life of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates, which is really, they're very much connected to our whole process of Krishna consciousness. And it's interesting because Srila Prabhupada, when he presented Srimad Bhagavatam, what did he present at the very beginning of Bhagavatam? The life of Lord Chaitanya in about 60 pages. That's the beginning of Bhagavatam. So in that way he was indicating also what the connection is between these two very powerful and direct philosophical glorifications of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prabhupada, when he published, or he actually translated Chaitanya Charitamrita, the devotees in Los Angeles, that's where the hub of the book printing was being done. That was Prabhupada's headquarters in the United States of America. And so there were many devotees there. The temple had at least 150 devotees. Most of them were Sankirtan devotees. And it was a big book publishing thing. And Prabhupada was sending his books there, and they were editing it. The artists were there. They were painting the pictures. And they were binding the books, and they were publishing the books. They were doing everything through the Los Angeles temple. Prabhupada had finished the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita, but the devotees had only put out 2 of the volumes. Prabhupada visited Los Angeles, and he said, "What is this? I got 15 more volumes going here, and you're too slow." That's basically what he said. You're too slow. The devotees were putting out 1 book average every 2 months. And Prabhupada said, now I want the remaining 15 volumes done in 1 month. They were doing 1 volume every 2 months. He wanted the rain. And they said, well, Prabhupada, Radha Ballabha and Rameshwar Maharaj at the time, he said, Prabhupada, impossible. Prabhupada said, this is where that famous statement came from. Prabhupada said, impossible is a word in a fool's dictionary. It was due to that exchange. So the devotees realized Prabhupada wasn't joking. He wanted 15 volumes done in 1 month. So they had a consultation. It was really serious. What are we going to do? This is an impossible task, Prabhupada said. And he's serious. He's not going to give us any excuses. So they made a deal with Prabhupada. The devotees, They said, all right, Prabhupada, we'll do it. But you got to stay in Los Angeles for 1 month. In other words, you got to be here. So they were using that as a way to get his association. So Prabhupada said, all right, I'll stay. So he did. And they put the whole temple on 24-hour service. They had the artists sitting in front of their canvases with the paints, and the devotees were bringing them their prasadam. They were painting around the clock, 24 hours. They were sleeping right there where they were working, and they were eating right there where they were working. The whole temple was on a 24-hour marathon to get 15 volumes done in 1 month. And guess what? They did it. And Prabhupada was so pleased. If you ever get a chance, look into this history. It's a really amazing story, what happened during that 1 month. And how we saw how devotees could just accelerate their devotional service when they were put under pressure. I think sometimes it's like that. When things are going on, we kind of like, yeah, Hare Krishna. But you put you under a little pressure, some difficulties, whatever the difficulties may be. Sometimes when you get sick, then you start reading Prabhupada's books. Because you can't do much else when you're sick. But that's not really the way to go. Here Prabhupada says that this knowledge is what? He gives, this is the purport, is great, pure, glorious, auspicious, and not good, but all good. So there's another name for Krishna. It's called Uttama Sloka, the all-good Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Prabhupada said Krishna is like a sweet ball. You can bite it on any side and it's sweet. He said, my books are like that also. You can read anywhere. And the nectar is there as far as the knowledge and the glorification of the Lord. So these books are really very, and especially Nectar of Devotion. Sometimes I ask devotees, have you read Nectar of Devotion? Yeah, 30 years ago. 35 years ago. Sometimes I ask new devotees, and because in the old days we used to have Nectar Devotion classes. In 1972, remember those days? Yeah, Nectar Devotion. 1972, Prabhupada gave a whole series of Nectar Devotion classes in Vrindavan for 1 month. He spoke on Nectar Devotion every day for a whole month. That book is the handbook for practicing Krishna consciousness. It gives you a clear understanding of how the process works and how to execute the process. It's so exact. It's like if you buy a computer or you buy a machine you don't know anything about, you have to read the instructions, even to start it. I know when I get a computer, I have to find a start button. It takes me like 5 minutes sometimes. Because I don't know anything about machines. I'm not so, what they call, computer savvy. Is that the word? I usually get somebody to do all my computer work for me because I get confused with these things. And so I get confused with a lot of things, but that's one of them anyway. So sometimes we need to really scrutinizingly get an understanding of what we're approaching. And Nectar Devotion is the essence. As Prabhupada said, read it once, read it twice, read it thrice. It's such an important work. And of course, there's very sweet little glorifications of Krishna's pastimes in Nectar Devotion. Srimad Bhagavatam is full of it. Bhagavad Gita is the foundation for understanding everything. It's the foundation for our whole philosophical principles that govern the practice of Krishna consciousness. Who is God? What's our relationship with God? What is this material energy? How does it work? And how does activities affect us, spiritual and material activities? So, what we say, fundamental to the practice of Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada's saying that when we present this literature, it should be presented in the best possible way. Satam prasangam mamavirya samvido bhavanti ritkarna rasayana kata. That prasangam, the word sangam means association, but prasangam means that association which centers around Krishna. It's an extra, what we say, suffix on the word sangam, which gives a clearer understanding of what real sangam is that Krishna is the center of that. So glorification of Krishna or glorification of any of the Lord's incarnations, is the essence of spiritual practice. Just like we're in the month of Damodar now. This month is so auspicious. it's so sweet. You saw how many devotees were here? I walked into the temple. I said, what is this, a festival? But then I realized people were here just to worship Damodar. So many devotees. And I was thinking, this is very good to see so many devotees coming and just worshiping the Lord in His form as a baby. By offering that ghee lamp, what are we doing? Or that candle, we're offering the love in our heart to the Lord. It's not just a candle that somebody hands you and you go, next. No, it's actually, your heart is where bhakti is. Where bhakti, the soul sits on the heart. So love is in that part of the body. So that light is actually the love in our heart that we're offering to the Lord when we offer it. And that's the way to offer. Because what's the use? What is the use of anything if it's not done with bhakti? It's just ritual, or what we say, mechanical. So this month is very nice, and that beautiful prayer, the Damodar Astakam, so full of bhakti, just glorifying Krishna's intimate pastimes. What a wonderful pastime it is. Krishna performed that pastimes on Diwali day. It's mentioned in the 10th canto that Krishna stole butter on Diwali. Of course, he performed that pastime by stealing butter all the time. Krishna likes to steal butter. Because butter, how many of you, it's easy, I guess I get a less show of hands if I do it this way. How many of you don't like butter? Even if you don't, you won't say it. Because butter is so nice, right? They give me some bread sometimes with butter. I say, where's the butter? I said, they said, there. I said, no, come on, put some butter on it. The butter should be just as thick as the bread, you know. Because then it's really a butter and bread sandwich. Otherwise, it's just like mostly you're just chewing something. But butter is so nice, and Krishna steals butter. But Krishna doesn't steal anything. Why? Because it belongs to him anyway. So he plays the role, and he's given the name what? Makan Cho. He's a thief. God is a thief. And we worship him as a thief. How many people actually worship thieves? Nobody. You know, people don't like thieves. They put thieves in prison and they get punished. But when God steals something, it's great. It's the most wonderful thing. Krishna was stealing butter from this one house that had the really, really good butter. And this one gopi was getting really upset with Krishna. So she went to Mother Yasoda. She couldn't catch Krishna because Krishna would always get away just at the right time. Because, you know, he's slick. So he just would escape. And then this gopi knew it was Krishna, but she couldn't catch him. So she would complain to Mother Yasoda, and Mother Yasoda wouldn't believe her. She would say, what do you mean? We got such nice butter. Why would my son go and steal butter from your house? We got the best butter here. He doesn't need to go there and steal it. So she wouldn't really believe him, that other gopi. So one time she thought, all right, I'm going to catch Krishna. So she put some bells on this window where Krishna would come through. And then she took some more bells and put it on the butter pot and hung the butter pot up high. So Krishna was out. He was about 3 years old. And he was walking along and he saw that house again. And he was looking at it. He was thinking, And then Madhu Mangol. You know Madhu? Oh yeah, he's nice. He's far out. He does these things. He takes his hand, he goes like this, makes that funny sound, and he says, now give me a ladu. Because he likes ladus. He's a Brahmin too. And if you say anything, he'll always tell you, I'm a Brahmin, so you can't argue with me, I'm a Brahmin. So Krishna said, Madhu, let's get some butter. This is that really nice butter here. Madhu said, you know, Krishna, I know you're God, but you didn't see the bells on the window, did you? Not like that. I just said that's a little improvisation. So Krishna said, yeah, I know, but don't worry. The bells are my servants. I'll just tell, bells don't ring. So he opened the window and the bells were completely quiet. So he's walking in there and he's looking around. It's dark inside. But Krishna's got this natural effulgence that lights up everything. In fact, the whole universe is lit up by the effulgence from Krishna's body. Where does the sun get its power? From the effulgence of Krishna's body. That same energy. Nothing has its own illuminating power unless it gets that power from Krishna directly, through his energy, spiritual or material. So Krishna was walking, looking, and then finally came into the room and he saw the butter pot up high. And he said, Madhu, there's that butter. And Madhu said, there's bells on the pot. Krishna, be careful. He said, don't worry, bells are my servants. So he got a little stool. He stood on it. He grabbed the butter pot and the bells were completely quiet. Not even a tinkle. Ding, nothing. Krishna's expert. So he took some butter and he gave it to Madhu and he gave it to the monkeys, because the monkeys are always there when Krishna steals butter. They know to be right on time and get the best butter because they know. Especially, what is that one monkey's name? Daddy? He's little, that one monkey, Daddy? What is his name? He's always there. He's Krishna's friend, huh? Daddy Lobe. Yeah, he's that little monkey. Okay. So, then finally, after distributing all the butter, he decided to eat some himself. And as soon as he did, all the bells started to ring from the window and from the pot. They were just going ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling, and Krishna went, boom, he just ran outside. Madhu followed him. He said, what happened? I thought you said the bells weren't going to ring. He said, I don't know. God says, I don't know. So, and then he calls for the demigod in charge of bells. Because there's a demigod for everything. Every little aspect of the material energy is controlled by a particular deva. So this demigod comes and he's full of bells. He's got bells all over. Because that's what he does. So he pays his obeisances to the Lord. He said, my dear Lord, you've called me? He said, yeah, I told you not to ring. You ruined my whole pastime. Something like that. And then he said, yes, I know, you say that, but in the scriptures it said, anytime you take prasadam, we're supposed to ring. So I was just following your instructions in that way. So Krishna didn't know what to say. So and finally, the lady in the house, she came out, she grabbed Krishna, she said, now I got you, you're not going to get away, I'm going to take you to Mother Yashoda and she's going to punish you. But then she thought, I got to pass by Nanda Maharaj, and he's so kind. He never takes, no matter what Krishna does, the father's like that, sometimes. The mother always says, hey, what are you doing? The father says, don't be so heavy with him, The father is always just like, when they're little kids, when they're little. When they get a little older, then it's different. So the father's very lenient. So Nanda never would say anything to Krishna in a very chastising way. So she was thinking, I got to walk past Nanda. I know he's there. What to do? So she took her sari. She covered Krishna's head with her sari, and she held his hand. And she started carrying him like that, under cover like that. So she passes by Nanda Maharaj. She goes to Mother Yashoda. I caught your son. Now I got him. I want you to punish him. Here he is. He lifted up her sari. And Mother Yashoda started to laugh, and she said, that's not my son, that's your son. And she looked, and it was her own son. Mother Yashoda said, you probably just had a hard day. Go home, rest a little bit, you'll be all right. So she left. She was totally bewildered. She couldn't figure out what happened. And while she was walking out, Krishna ran up to her and said, next time you do that to me, I'm going to become your husband. All right, Krishna. So, Krishna always wins. He never loses. So it's good to be a devotee of Krishna because he's always in the best possible position. So Krishna, this is a month where he's stealing butter and his mother ties him up. But how can she tie him up? Only if he permits. So the tying up of the Lord in this pastime is simply the love of the devotee for the Lord. Because Krishna cannot be bound by anything but love. There's Jnana Vatsal, Karma Vatsal, Yoga Vatsal. None of these names apply to Krishna. It's Bhakta Vatsal. Krishna is only attracted by love. And love is natural. Love is just something we possess. Karma, we have to perform karma in a certain way. Gyan, you have to study books and become, how we say. But bhakti is there in the heart. It's there. So how do we love Krishna? Sometimes people say, well, I don't have any love for Krishna. What am I going to do? Love means what? One word. Service. Serve. By serving. Manaso, Deho, Geho, Yokichu Mor Arpilu Pudambide, Nandakishore. My home, my possessions, my family, my very body, everything. It's yours. But it's not yours and I keep it. That's not, my dear Lord, everything you have is yours, I have is yours, but I don't want to give you any of it. That's not love. We have to give it to him. And that means by using these things in the service of the Lord, we're actually offering our love. So use your time, use your money, use your energy. Use as much as you can in the service of the Lord. And as we do that, we start to become detached from our own desires for sense gratification, and we start to find happiness in just serving the Lord. Because the Lord will accept our offerings when it's offered with devotion, sincerity. That's all. It belongs to you. We might use the analogy, if you want to worship the Ganga, how do you worship the Ganga? You take Ganges waters and you offer it back to the Ganges. Right? That's the process. With prayer. It's not that you just give it back. You offer it back with prayer. But it's the same water. You're getting it from the Ganga. What does the Ganga need with Ganges? With their own waters. But it's the bhakti that the offering is made that is being accepted. And not simply the water. Now don't take that in the wrong way. That I'll just offer bhakti but not give anything. No, because we have to show our love in a practical way. So, manaso deho geho, or as Prabhupada said, your words, your intelligence, your resources, your life. Give these things. At least give one of them. But when we offer that with love, then Krishna accepts like that. And then our process of devotional service is open. So this month is very auspicious. Whatever devotional service you perform in this month, you get double the amount of spiritual credits. Half price sale. Right? You go to the store, they say, we're going to have a clearance sale. Everything's half price. All right. Then all of a sudden you're in a spending mood. You've been waiting for the price to be reduced so you can afford it. So bhakti is the most precious of all gifts. And when we offer our devotion in this month, Krishna reciprocates twice as much. And if you go to Vrindavan, the most holy of all lands, during this time it says that devotional service, the reciprocation is unlimited. Sometimes people say 10 times, some say 100 times, some say unlimited. So you see, if you go to Vrindavan this time of the year, you'll see that the place is overcrowded. So many people from devotees around the world, Brijabasis, everyone comes and worships the temple, goes on parikram, performs this Damodar Vrata every day. It's such an auspicious time of the year. And here, what is Prabhupada saying? we should hear about Krishna more and more. This pastime of Damodar is in the 9th chapter of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. It's a beautiful pastime. And Prabhupada explains it with such devotion, such detail. And Sanatana Goswami has written a commentary on this pastime. And in that commentary, he takes each of the lines of the prayers of this particular Leela and explains each of the lines as we sing them every day. He's giving you a detailed explanation of what Satyavrat Muni is saying in his prayers. So it's so sweet. As we go deeper into the philosophical teachings, we go deeper into the mood of bhakti. Because faith and devotion is enhanced by knowledge. Knowledge is not the goal, but it's a great catalyst for awakening and going deeper into the mood of devotion. So we have so much nectar. So sometimes we think, what should I do? Okay, read the books. And one time one devotee was reading all day. And one devotee came up to Prabhupada and said, this devotee, he's just reading all day. He doesn't do any service. Prabhupada said, is he sleeping? And this devotee said, no. Prabhupada said, that's good. You can read all day, as long as you don't sleep. Because if you read, what will happen? You'll want to serve and you'll want to speak. You want to speak. As Prabhupada said, preacher means reader. That's all. If we want to be an exponent or a representative for this knowledge by speaking, just read, 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 read. There's so much, and it's just so full of nectar. Okay. It's getting a little late. Thank you. Any questions? Yes.